fabulous to see all of you. What a special event we have this evening as we celebrate our Hometown Heroes recognition for 2018. At this time, I would like to ask all of you to stand, please, for the presentation of the colors by the Prince George High School Junior Reserve Officers Training Corps Honor Guard.
Oh, arch.
And now I would like to welcome Mr. John Brandt, Executive Director of the Colonial Heights Chamber of Commerce.
Good evening. I'd like to thank each and every one of you for being here. We also want to thank Vice Mayor Betsy Luck for attending, the Honorable Kenny Frenier, John Pietrowski, and City Manager Doug Smith, and our Sheriff Sheriff Wilson. Sorry. Thank you for attending our tribute to our hometown heroes. Today has been a crazy day. We started out in the gym, and we had all the banners hung all around the gymnasium this morning. And would you know it, the AC went out in the gym, and so here we are. So at 3 o'clock, the mayor called me up and said, "Hey, it's 85 degrees in the gym. We gotta switch plans." So we brought all the stuff in here, and we got the banners hung where we could, how we could. We had to do some creative maneuvers on some of them. So as you see, some of them are hung on cafeteria tables, and as you can see, a lot of you didn't RSVP, so we didn't have a whole lot of room for everybody. So, but again, it's a small price that we can pay for the price that these men and women serve for us. We have a wonderful evening ahead of us. The men and women that surround us are the foundation that this city was built on. They fought so that we can enjoy the freedoms that we have. So as you walk around and look at the banners and read the stories in the booklet, remember, Colonial Heights is a wonderful city, and this community is stronger because of them. Finally, I would like to read a letter that one of our heroes wrote to us. As we approach Memorial Day in celebration of those who served and gave their last full measure in defense of our nation, I felt compelled to write this letter to the City of Colonial Heights and the City of Colonial Heights Chamber of Commerce and the good citizens of the city. The Chamber recently established, and it's actually the Chamber and the City, established the Hometown Heroes Program. In a nutshell, if an individual is a current or former resident of the city and served or is serving in our military, they can be nominated or purchased a banner for. And the individual is recognized with a banner which includes a photo, name and rank, service, and other information. The banners are hung all along the south end of the boulevard. I was raised in Colonial Heights and graduated from Colonial Heights High School. I also served in the United States Army for 29 years. Although I no longer live in Colonial Heights, I am fortunate to have family members who still do. Some of them learned of the program, nominated me, and now I have a banner. On Saturday, the 19th of May, the city will, actually it's the 22nd because he wasn't aware of the change. The city will hold a reception at the Colonial Heights Tussin Elementary, where all of the current banners will be displayed prior to mounting them along the boulevard. Although I will not be able to attend the ceremony, when I think about the program and the banners, I experience several emotions. I'm honored to have a banner. I am humbled by the thought that my banner stands amongst those others who not only served and sacrificed, but in some cases endured more hardships than I did defending our great nation. And make no mistake, despite what we may hear or see on the news, we live in a great nation. If you have any doubt, go spend some time in the countries we deploy our troops to. Countries where the rules of the law does not exist, where corruption is practiced on a grand scale, and where individuals' hopes for economic prosperity have long ago evaporated, and people live day to day doing whatever they feel they need to do in order to live to see tomorrow. There is one more emotion that I feel when I think of this program. I am saddened to think of many other residents who served and sacrificed, but who, as of yet, do not have banners of their own. We who serve are a ragged band of brothers and sisters. We are often misunderstood and underappreciated. By those we would willingly lay down our lives to defend. We are soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines. I applaud the City of Colonial Heights and the Chamber of Commerce for implementing the Hometown Hero Program. I would encourage everyone to attend the ceremony at Tussin Elementary on the 22nd. Let's try to honor all of our hometown heroes. And that is respectfully Charles Barham, Colonel, U.S. Army, retired. Well, again, I thank y'all for coming. We're going to go ahead and get this program going. Rick?
Thank you, Mr. Brandt. And now it is my pleasure to introduce the world-famous Tussin Elementary School Choir, led by their director, Mr. Michael Souder. And now it is my privilege to introduce the Honorable T. Gregory Kachula, Mayor of Colonial Heights.
I just want to make a few remarks, but before I do that, I'm going to call Mr. James in here. Mr. James is the principal of Tussin Elementary School. I just want to thank him and his staff for helping us today. As John said earlier, we had the gym set up, and when I walked into the school today, every teacher as I was walking to the gym said, "Mr. Kachuba, have you been to the gym?" No. "Mr. Kachuba, have you been to the gym?" No. And then I ran into Mr. James, and he said, "Have you been to the gym?" I said, "Mr. James, tell me why everyone's worried about the gym." And he said, "Well, it's about 85 degrees." So we quickly, him and his staff, moved everything in here. The banners are hung on with command strips, duct tape, and somebody, one of the teachers even gave us Gorilla tape. And I don't know, still we're falling down off of this wall. But I wanted to thank Mr. James, and I think he deserves a round of applause. He's off to a school board meeting, but I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to honor, salute, pay tribute, and to carry on the legacy of those that have served and those that are serving by way of these banners. These banners will fly or be displayed on Memorial Day through Labor Day each year, so we're excited about that. But I wanted to give you a little bit of background on how this program came about. City Council embraces and supports anytime we can pay honor or support the men and women who serve in the military and the veterans that have served, whether it's participating in Memorial Day service or Labor Day service sponsored by the American Legion of VFW, or working with VDOT, Virginia Department of Transportation, to put a crosswalk where Longhorns is over to Marshalls. We have a lot of young enlisted soldiers, AIT students at Fort Lee that come over during the weekend and shop and eat, and we're looking out for their safety. Or if it's trying to attract restaurants or retailers to come in, so when the soldier at the end of his duty takes off his uniform, we can provide a quality of life for them. This program, though, about a year and a half ago, my family went on a vacation, a short vacation, to the Tides Inn. It's a resort off the Chesapeake Bay. I don't know if you've ever been there. If you need some time to get away, it's an old inn. It's been there since 1947. So while there, we went out for dinner one night, and we went to a little town called Kilmarnock. And in Kilmarnock, on the main street, they had these banners. And as we drove around, I looked at my wife, Lisa, and I had goosebumps. I said, well, we've got to bring this to Colonial Heights. So I went to council. Council said yes, and which I was really, really excited about. And then I said, well, we can't do it ourselves. We need some help. So we went to the chamber, and John was all for it. And the idea then was implemented. And it was implemented by two individuals. Our clerk of council, Pam Wallace, if you can come on up here, and John Brand. Can you come up here? These two individuals took the idea, and Pam's there, she didn't want to come up here. They took the idea and they ran with it, and I can't tell you how proud I am of both of you two for taking this and getting it off the ground. They designed the banners, they did the logistics of where they are going to be hung and where others will be hung in the future. They did this program, and if you hadn't gotten a program, please do so. They designed that. I think they did an outstanding job. But I just want to thank them, and on behalf of City Council, I want to present them with the city coin as someone who has done an outstanding job. So at this time, I'm going to present you both. They are awesome. Listen, in closing, I thought about what is a hometown hero? And what came to my mind was an individual, ordinary individuals that are dedicated and committed to their country at all costs. And about 2 weeks ago, I attended a luncheon at Fort Lee. General Hurley spoke, the base commander spoke at that luncheon, and he talked about his soldiers being heroes, and he shared a story that I want to share with you. He said while stationed in Afghanistan a few years ago, he oversaw a battalion, and one day a suicide bomber entered one of his units. The suicide bomber detonated the explosion, and he lost several of his soldiers, but injured several others. Those soldiers that were injured were taken to Landstuhl. If you know where that is, it's right outside of Ramstein Air Force Base in Germany. And then they were moved to Walter Reed. General Hurley decided to leave Afghanistan and go to Walter Reed to visit those soldiers. One particular soldier, he said, was very athletic, always positive, willing to take on his mission. And he was severely injured. The metal from the explosion went into his head. He lost his mobility, could not see, but he could hear and he could understand. And he could only communicate with his mother by squeezing her hand. General Hurley went to that hospital room, and while there, he knelt down and he asked that soldier how he was doing. That soldier slowly raised his hand and gave the thumbs up. Dedicated and committed to his country at all costs. I just want to thank all the members here today, or your family members, that have served in the military, or are serving, and we thank you for your service. We thank you, and we're blessed because of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Distinguished guests and all of our guests, especially the service members we honor today, as well as the family members of those who have passed. In recognition of this day, and those we will salute and commend, I would like to share this poem by Charles M. Province, a former soldier himself. It is the soldier, not the minister, who has given us freedom of religion. It is the soldier, not the reporter, who has given us freedom of the press. It is the soldier, not the poet, who has given us freedom of speech. It is the soldier, not the campus organizer, who has given us freedom to protest. It is the soldier, not the lawyer, who has given us the right to a fair trial. It is the soldier, not the politician, who has given us the right to vote. It is the soldier who salutes the flag, who serves beneath the flag, and whose coffin is draped by the flag, who allows the protester to burn the flag. Yes, it is the soldier, and it is the airman, it is the sailor and the Marine and the Coast Guardsmen who protect these blessings that we enjoy in America today, and none more so than those who gave their lives in that protection. We thank them, we honor them, and we thank their families for the sacrifices they have made for our nation and for us. We will now call the roll of honor. Service members who are with us this evening are encouraged to stand when their name is called, and I also encourage the family members of those who have passed to also stand and be recognized. Richard Zachary Sloan, U.S. Army, 82nd Airborne, Corporal. John M. Buren, U.S. Army, Corporal. Joseph C. Hale, Sr., U.S. Army, Sergeant. Logan Carlson, U.S. Air Force, Staff Sergeant. Tommy Gray Livingood, U.S. Navy, Chief Petty Officer, Submarine Service. Scott Ramey, U.S. Army, Staff Sergeant. Clarence H. Honexema, U.S. Army, Sergeant, First Class. Richard Lucien Bride, Navy, U.S. Navy Reserve, Boiler Technician. Kenneth C. Jones, U.S. Army, Private, First Class. Werner Conrad Reelitz II, or Connie, U.S. Marine Corps. Donald R. Sloan, U.S. Army, First Sergeant. Charles D. Slavaw, U.S. Army, Lieutenant Colonel. George M. Jones, U.S. Navy, Petty Officer, Second Class. William Edward Mooney, U.S. Marine Corps, Lance Corporal. James T. Moore, U.S. Army, Sergeant. Johnny A. Brandt, U.S. Air Force, Tech Sergeant. Robert K. Fisher, U.S. Army, Master Sergeant. Taylor H. Humphreys, U.S. Navy, Seaman. Richard T. Logue, U.S. Navy, Chief Warrant Officer 4. Mallory T. Johnson, U.S. Navy, U.S. Army, I'm sorry. Raymond Young, U.S. Army, Sergeant. Harold S. Wall, U.S. Navy, Seaman. Luther Pat Quick, U.S. Army, Corporal. Art Snyder, U.S. Army, Sergeant Major. Donald Lawson, U.S. Air Force. Seward G. Dick, U.S. Army, Sergeant. Gilbert C. Martin, U.S. Army, Captain. J. Keith Spence, U.S. Army, 101st Airborne, Chief Warrant Officer 2. Billy G. Thompson, U.S. Army, Corporal. Percy Earl Bell, U.S. Army, Technician, 3rd Class. Charles C. Minkus, U.S. Navy, Senior Chief Petty Officer. Charles Barham Jr., U.S. Army, Colonel. Alak Upadhyaya, U.S. Army Reserve, Colonel. Claude Jones, U.S. Army, Sergeant, First Class. Walter D. McCann, U.S. Army, Sergeant, First Class. James M. Barker, Jr., U.S. Navy, Petty Officer, First Class. Tim Roy, U.S. Army, Sergeant, First Class. Douglas Buren, U.S. Army, Staff Sergeant. John E. Weiberg, U.S. Navy, Senior Chief Boatswain's Mate. Charles R. Fee, Sr., U.S. Army, Master Sergeant. John E. Brockwell, Jr., Army Air Force. Daniel R. Eiselman, U.S. Army, Sergeant. Smith J. Pye Love, U.S. Army, Private, First Class. William Christopher James, U.S. Marine Corps, Gunny Sergeant. Lewis H. Harris, U.S. Army, Sergeant. Alan P. James, U.S. Army, Staff Sergeant. Norman Lovin, U.S. Army, Specialist. John Charles McCrae, U.S. Army, Chief Warrant Officer. Herbert S. Small, U.S. Navy, Seaman, First Class. Thomas Earl Cox, U.S. Army, Staff Sergeant. Lauren Bann, Sr., U.S. Marine Corps, Master Sergeant. Robert Carl Orth, U.S. Army, Private, First Class. Frank H. Ferris, U.S. Army, First Lieutenant. Preston E. Hare, U.S. Navy, Seaman, First Class. Michael W. Clark, U.S. Army, Sergeant. Kevin Austin Krieger, U.S. Air Force, Senior Airman. Charles Pyre, Jr., U.S. Army, Sergeant, First Class. William Bill Gilligan, U.S. Army, Major. Paul A. Rusty Russell, U.S. Army, Master Sergeant. Davis C. Wren, Jr., U.S. Navy. Omar Estes, U.S. Navy, Airman. Ronald Perkins, U.S. Army, Chief Warrant Officer 2. Charles Arthur Wasick, U.S. Army, Sergeant, First Class. Harold Doss, Jr., U.S. Army, Corporal. Herbert Bryant, U.S. Navy, Pharmacist Mate, 2nd class. James Brizard, U.S. Army, Master Sergeant. Ben Hawkins, U.S. Army. Albert Pond, U.S. Coast Guard. Charles Philip Riggs, U.S. Army, Specialist 5. Oliver James Martin, U.S. Army, Master Sergeant. Richard Hines, U.S. Navy, Petty Officer. Churchill G. Drake, U.S. Navy. Garvis Rudy Rudolph Downey Jr., U.S. Marine Corps. Vincent J. Brown, U.S. Air Force, Staff Sergeant. Dr. John W. Stillian, U.S. Air Force, Captain. Robert E. Balducci, U.S. Army, Private, 1st class. Willie E. Burrow, U.S. Army. Timothy A. Farley, U.S. Navy, Master Chief Petty Officer of the Navy. William Everett Pond, U.S. Army, Staff Sergeant. Jesse W. Jack Bernard, U.S. Navy. William Bill Flanagan, U.S. Army, Colonel. Gary Edwin Lamar, U.S. Army, 1st Sergeant. Hugh Bernard Lubusen, Navy and Marine Corps, Hospital Corpsman and Staff Sergeant. W.F. Pete Carwile, U.S. Army, Sergeant. Claiborne Hawkins, U.S. Navy Seabees, Steamfitter, 1st class. Mary Elaine Venema, U.S. Army, NCO in charge of Public Affairs, Headquarters, U.S. Army, Europe, Heidelberg, Germany, Sergeant, 1st class. Thank you all. I would now like to introduce Career Officer Christopher Wolf of the Colonial Heights Police Department.
especially thank our sponsors for the program. A very nice program that was put together for you guys to take home and to share with your loved ones, to share with your children, your grandchildren, and many grandchildren to come. But we couldn't have put it together if it wasn't for our sponsors. And so I'm just going to go through them briefly. Century 21 Colonial Realty, Primerica, Linda Gillikin, Hales Insurance, EXP Realty, Patty Lamar, Randall Walkman with Edward Jones, the Dunlop House, Crater Community Hospice, Sherwood Title. Again, please support these men and women that have supported our Hometown Heroes program. We want to thank you for that. Also, we have refreshments that are out in the lobby that we would love for y'all to take part in. Also, there is a table out there with roses on it. If you had a loved one that has passed, we ask that you come and take a rose in honor of them. That is something that Ms. Wallace put together for y'all. And again, they're gone but not forgotten. So again, I want to thank y'all for coming tonight. We thank you for all the participation that y'all put into these banners. And we ask that you call your city councilman and tell them we need more light bulbs, because we're out of light bulbs. So, many of them are here, so catch their ear while they're here. So again, thank y'all for coming tonight, and thank you again. Let's give Rick a hand.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At this time, I would like to ask all of you to stand once again for the retirement of the colors. Thank you all again for joining us this evening. God bless you all, and God bless America.
Oh, our guard, oh, aid and or our colors. Oath. Oh, our